Well, hello everybody. Everybody. I am doing this live stream. It's going to take a minute. So if you just come in the middle of me talking, just go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Go ahead and hit the like button as soon as you come in. So today's topic is going to be pretty intense because this is a topic that basically, a lot of us don't like to talk about, but we have to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. So, my lovely empaths, I hope that you have your journal next to you and you're ready to dive into this topic. The topic today is going to be why narcissistic parents don't love their children. And yeah, I could have said this a lot of different ways. I could have said maybe they don't love their children. Do they love their children? Or a lot of those different ways. But the true, simplest way is to tell the truth about it. And at the end of the day, it does come down to this. And so let's dig into some of the reasons why, because you may be a person that may have went through this, and my heart goes out to you. I have a lot of things to share with you today, and so let's just go ahead and get started. This is a live stream, so I am going to be here a while. If you come in and I don't get a chance to, answer any questions for you or anything like that, please forgive me. I just want to make sure that I get through the topic today. So let's go ahead and get started with this topic. It's a very touchy topic, but we're going to narrow it down and get everything going. But before we do that, let's go ahead and hit that intro. So, yes, this is your girl, Kim Mars. And yes, I am going to be doing this, is going to be a long time coming for this particular um, topic. Okay. Uh, now, initially, I was thinking, hey, maybe not do this for a while, or maybe try to do it in a way where it's not going to be as hurting or anything. But there's no way, there's no easy way of how to say, your mama or your daddy don't love you, right? There's no easy way of saying that. So we must try to understand this as best we can. So just sit back. I did put together a nice presentation. We want to dig into this a little bit deeper, find out what's really going on, and maybe I can shed some light on, because of my experience, because of what I've been through as a person that was raised by some narcissistic parents in a very toxic situation. Of course, if my parents or anybody ever saw this video, they would probably say that I was exaggerating, or maybe they would say, oh, everybody's had a little something done to them in their childhood. And maybe they would feel some type of way, or maybe they wouldn't. Either way it go, this is something that I wanted to do to help other people that may have been in this situation. Okay. It's not all of for a long time, it's been about them. Now it's about us talking about and exposing the truth when it comes down to this. So let's look at this presentation that I kind of put together for you guys. This is the painful truth of growing up with with narcissistic parents. Okay. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as my uh, experience has been, particularly I've dealt with my mother being sort of a covert narcissist. But I mean, she had narcissistic uh, behaviors and things like that. So we're going to talk about what this all means at some point. Okay. So because we throw around this word narcissism quite a bit, right? And and I think some people feel like they may be overusing it. at some point. Maybe they feel like, oh, it can't be that many narcissistic people in this world. But I beg to differ because of the uh, time that we're living in. There is a lot of narcissistic abuse. It's a lot of narcissistic people, and it's a lot of narcissistic um, behaviors that go unnoticed or unchecked. Okay. And then what I mean by unchecked is that we don't expose them, because what happens is those some of these narcissistic people get into a high position, so you can't go around checking every narcissist and letting them know about themselves just because you can. Okay, so we're going to get into that. Yes, this painful truth. It's so painful for a person to have to grow up in a situation where their mother or their father was narcissistic, and they don't know. See, when we were growing up, most of us, especially our Generation X. I'm a Generation X person, so a lot of us Generation X people did not know the term narcissism. So narcissism was just not something that we thought about as far as people, as far as this being something that we needed to understand, right? We knew something was wrong, but we did not know what it was or what people were talking about when we talk about narcissism. Okay, now again, a lot of our parents and a lot of the people that we've met that had these narcissistic behaviors, they haven't been diagnosed as a narcissist, because most of the time with a narcissist, they will never go to the go and get diagnosed, see the way it go, because that's why they're a narcissist, right? So only thing we can do as people is to actually expose the behavior. Okay, so we always want to expose the behavior, or at least acknowledge the behavior, or understand that this person may be displaying this behavior. Now, in each situation is going to be different how you're going to handle a person with narcissistic behavior. Okay, and why is this behavior so important to not overlook? Is because it can be very detrimental to your own emotional well-being and sometimes your physical well-being. If a person, and so before I go into that, let's look at the definition of what a narcissist is. So um, let's look at that. Let's look a little bit deeper into a narcissistic personality. So a narcissistic personality disorder is a mental condition characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy, um, and manipulative behavior. Okay. Now, the signs include grandiosity, preoccupation with themselves, disregard of other people's feelings. Okay, what's so wrong about somebody just being what we would consider in other times just a butthole, right? Why is it such a big situation or a big problem, you know, when we talk about a person having narcissistic behavior? Preoccupation with power and disregard. Okay, so here's what happens. If you have a mother that does not have empathy and have a manipulative behavior, okay, what happens to a child that needs someone to understand and put themselves in their shoes? So what is empathy? Empathy is where people kind of get things mixed up. Empathy is not sympathy, it's not shamefulness, it's not, crying because somebody else is crying and those type of things. Empathy is truly feeling what another person is feeling and putting yourself in their shoes and feeling what they feel. Now, this is very difficult for a person that is really just a very selfish individual. So they really wouldn't care to put themselves in your shoes. Because when you don't have empathy, you could care less how another person feels or how you're making someone else feel, right? So when a child is raised by a narcissist, they may come home from a hard day at school, or some people are picking with them, and their response, the mother response, if they have no empathy, is go ahead and suck it up, or maybe give them some tactics that may be manipulative to fight back with a person, but never really addressing that child's feelings of how they actually felt to be picked on, never addressing the fact that maybe this child needed a little bit more reassurance that they are okay, because it's tough enough to go into a school and be picked on, let alone come home and nothing, there's no nourishment, or no one nurturing you, no one telling you that it's going to be okay, and giving you that hug, giving you that attention, and giving you that knowing that it's nothing wrong with you, it was something wrong with the bully that was picking with you. When a parent doesn't have empathy, they don't have that type of, they will not, and even if they did try to do that, you know, hug the child, or pet the child or something like that, or tell the child that they're okay, look into the person that was trying to bully them and all that type of stuff, even if they did do that, it would be from a different point of view of that parent. It wouldn't be because they care about what that parent is feeling or what that child is feeling. What they would be doing is trying to protect their own persona. So they may look into it and maybe go up to the school and find out what's going on, but they never take care of that child and how that child feels. Okay, so what happens when a child have a scenario like that, where they have a parent that has and we're going to get to the manipulative behavior as we go on here, but right now I just want to focus on empathy. Empathy is important to have empathy when you're raising children, because this is what shows that child what to do in a situation, what to do, or how to feel when somebody else is hurt. Okay. Now, one thing about a narcissistic parent, they want all the sympathy and empathy in the world when something happens to them. In fact, most children that are raised by a narcissist, they become, they wind up in a parenting role, actually raising their parent. So they are the person that, because the child has empathy, right? The child doesn't want to see mama crying. So in fact, the child will be one of those children that will cry when they see their mother crying. They don't know exactly what's hurting their mother, but they just don't like the fact that their mother is hurting. But it shows you that these narcissistic parents raise sometimes super empathic children. And it's kind of a weird phenomenon, because this child didn't really learn empathy in the right way. How the child learned empathy was having their boundaries always being violated, and nothing happens. So they become sort of a doormat and really just be used to people kind of using them. And because they have this, it's such a, big heart, as they would say, because this is when they get older, they become that person with that big heart, giving to people that they should not be giving to, even though a person that may be in need, but they could be giving to a narcissist. Most of the time, that's what they're doing. They're giving to a narcissist that really thinks, turns around and calls them stupid or dumb for actually doing that, because that narcissist, whoever they're giving to, whether it be a friend, to their mother or whatever, um, they don't, it's like throwing your pearls to swine. Okay. If you don't know what that means, it's definitely a passage in the Bible where it is said not to throw your pearls, pearls meaning something very valuable, to a pig, a swine, a pig that does not know what to do with pearls, right? So, essentially, that's what you're taught by a parent that raises you with no empathy, teaching you to be a super empath and be a doormat to allow people to violate you, go past your boundaries. And this is where you grow up and you wind up saying, wow, um, why don't I have, you know, why can't I tell people no? Why can't I stop people from doing things that to me that I don't like? Why am I stuck with stuff that I bought from people that I really did not want? How many people are in that instant, feeling like that right now, where they know they brought some things from a person and they know doggone well they brought this just because you want to be a people pleaser. So this is what happens when children are raised by a person that is a narcissist. Okay, so now let's get to the next thing here is, and I want to break this paragraph down really good for you. Okay, now again, this is a narcissistic personality disorder. It's a mental disorder, but there are behaviors that come along with this disorder, which is something that we can actually see and we can actually call out and we can actually protect ourselves from. So the next part of this says that is a manipulative behavior. Now, how does this look with a parent? Well, the manipulative behavior, a child, as they get older and they get into adulthood, they will never realize a lot of times until they're much older and find out more about narcissistic abuse and narcissistic behavior. They will find out that their parents have been manipulating them from day one. Now, that's a sad thing to feel, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But I'm telling you, this is what happens: that this child feels manipulated from day one. Okay, they don't feel manipulated, but they have been manipulated. So the parent usually has this manipulative behavior. This can look like anything from the parent faking a sickness, so that they can keep the child from going outside or going with friends and things like that. Okay. They also can triangulate the child, where the child feels like they always have to, compete against whoever they triangulate them with. Usually it's with another sibling. This manipulative behavior comes in with sometimes as the child grows up and they become at working age and they start to go to work, that parent will actually manipulate that child out of all of their money. And why would they do that? Well, they want the child to always depend upon them. So here's the thing. This is what you want to really realize when you're thinking about a narcissistic parent. A narcissistic parent does not see that child as someone that is separate from them. Okay. They see that child as an extension of them. Right. So they don't, it's not like the average um, person that has a child. This is not the same. This person actually feels that this is just an extension of me. And they will often, that you have a narcissistic parent or a parent that is displaying narcissistic behavior, is because the saying of, I carried you for 9 months or 10 months or whatever it was, they start to remind you of all of the anguish that they so-called put themselves, or I mean, that the pregnancy has put them through, and all these other things that you should feel guilty about because you're living. So it's like these narcissistic parents don't have children out of, I just love my child and want to, contribute to the world and want to see this child to grow up and to be a successful adult. That's not why they have children. They have children because they want something that's going to be, again, they feel is going to be an extension of them, also that this person actually owes them something. Okay, I gave you life, I can take you out. And if that child so even thinks about becoming an individual by themselves without their parent, this is where the problem starts to come in. This is where people start to, this is where this child or this parent start to feel uh, like they need to pull this child back in. Now, if this parent is successful in raising the child the way that they would have, this child will never ever leave home. Okay, they will never leave home. And if they did leave home, they would ask their parent every step of the way. They will ask this narcissistic parent every step of the way, what should I do now, what should I do now, what should I do now. But the goal would always be to get you back to right up under their thumb. Okay, so I hope that you understand a little bit more about what the manipulation, what we're talking about when we talk about manipulative behavior. So let's talk about the signs of grandiosity and the preoccupation with power. Now, these type of behaviors, you will probably see this more in the place of employment. Okay, where you have that person that is preoccupied with rising to the top, will throw you under the bus and anybody else in front of the bus, under the bus, around the bus, if they have to get to the top. Once they get to the top, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get even worse. But we're not on that yet. We're going to talk about that in a later um, in another live that I'm going to do about dealing with coworkers who have this same those narcissistic behaviors. So right now, the way that this would look with parents is that maybe this parent may also have these moments where they um, they future fake their children and saying stuff like, "Yeah, we're going to uh, buy a big house, and I'm going to make sure that everybody has their own room, and then we're going to buy this big huge car. It's going to be awesome. You guys are going to love it. We're going to travel all over the world, and we're going to see this and that." So some people, some children may have this, and then they get disappointed because it doesn't happen. Okay, sometimes, now preoccupation with power, right? So this narcissistic parent may also forfeit really helping their children be wonderful adults because they're so busy climbing the corporate ladder, trying to be the big boss, right? And also remember that a person that's preoccupied with power, a parent that is, they don't see respect the same way that we do. Fear is respect to them. So that child may be terrified, walking on pins and needles or eggshells, trying to make sure that they don't, get out of line or cross this line or that line because their parent is so busy preoccupied with power that they're not paying attention to what they're doing to that child. As long as they can bark some orders at that child and they jump and hop to whatever it is that they say, then the parent is going to be happy. But the moment that that child doesn't jump fast enough, high enough, or any of those things, then we got a problem. Now, everybody may think, oh, wow, Kim is really, really exaggerating this whole thing of how a narcissistic parent is. Okay. I promise you I'm not, because I've lived it. I've lived it where I know that my parent really, really only wanted us there for almost as little slaves. Like, you do what they say do. You don't ask no questions. If you do exactly what you're being told, whether it's clean up the house, whether it's go get me some water, whether it's scratch my back, whether it's give me a massage, whether it's whatever. And these are things that they had us do. It was me, my brother, and my little sister, and both my brother and sister has passed away, but my mother has since got two other children and so on. But I'll tell you more about that story in a moment. I just wanted to make the example of the fact that what I'm saying, I'm backing up with the truth of personal experience. Okay. Disregard of others' feelings. Absolutely, a parent that has narcissistic uh, tendencies, they disregards that child's feelings. So that's in the household where a parent is always telling the child to shut up, be quiet, shut your mouth, stop crying. Even if they are the ones that made the child cry, they will still tell that child, stop crying. Well, you just hurt them, you just physically hurt them, if not hurt their feelings, and you did absolutely nothing to soothe that child, to help them understand their feelings. All you told them to do was shut up, shut up. I better not hear you cry anymore. I better not hear a peep out of you. These are things that they tell their children as they're growing up. The child has to be quiet, has to be super obedient. And so when people would see, if you have a covert narcissist mother or father, then people will see how obedient those children are, and they overlook the fact that these children are just totally abused. Okay. Now, I do know quite a few narcissistic people that I'm telling you, if you look at what they do to children, I'm talking about truly narcissistic people, you will notice that they have a disconnect with their children. But in if they'll let everybody else, they'll tell everybody else that we have a wonderful, wonderful relationship, and this, that, and the other, right? Because I'm sure that at one time, I remember my mother saying things like that to other people, saying that we had a nice relationship, and I tell her everything and all these good things and that and the other. Well, that was because at that time I was too afraid to really speak my mind on what was really going on with me. And it doesn't matter if I did try to speak my mind on those things, because she would always turn that conversation around to her. So, yes, do they have a disregard of other people's feelings? Absolutely. Absolutely. They could care less how the child is crying. They could care less if that child is sick. Only reason that child gets any type of nourishment and things like that is because that narcissistic person is only looking out um for their own self, and in a sense where they are only looking out just in case somebody see them. They don't want to look like they're mistreating those children, right? So they're not doing it because they love their child and they want their child to have the best nourishment. They are doing it because they don't want to go maybe to jail, or they don't want people to really think that they're a bad person. So yeah, they'll give the kids some food and that type of thing. But it doesn't stop them from actually abusing that child secretly, and then not feeding them when nobody's looking. So that's why you have these people that look like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because and sometimes the child isn't believed when people actually tell them how horrible of a parent that person was. Okay. And what happens, what's just crazy, I think is really crazy, is that a lot of these narcissistic mothers especially wind up having so many children and just abusing every last one of them. Because, see, one thing about a narcissistic person is that they don't like to be alone. So what happens is they use their children as, almost like their husband or their wives, or some just somebody, a companion there to always be there for them. That's the only reason it seems like they love their children, but they actually don't. They're only using them because they don't want to be alone. Okay. So I think I kind of ran that one in a little bit. Let's get to the my next slide is the signs of a narcissistic behavior, signs of narcissistic behavior in parents. Okay, so I kind of went over some of these, but let's look at this. Oh, what's too far? So let's look at this. So narcissistic parents have an inflated self of importance, a lack of empathy. We went over that. They manipulate their children. Yes, we went over that. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about the um, eh, let's talk about the criticism and the gaslighting. Oh, absolutely. The constant criticism and gaslighting. Okay. So let's talk about that. Um, Narcissistic parents. Let's start with the constant criticism. So yes, this is where you will find a lot of narcissistic parents will triangulate that child with another child or cousin or whatever it is, a situation or whatever. Um, they will give backhanded compliments like, you look better yesterday because your hair, you look better today than you did yesterday because yesterday your hair was messed up, or this, that, and the other. It's always something backhanded. It's always a form of criticism. And sometimes what parents do a lot, narcissistic parents do a lot, is they have that thing called dog whistle. Now, I don't know if everybody understand what a dog whistle is. Dog whistle is when it's a situation that only you and your parents know about, but they can just give you a look, a silent look, or just be silent, and you'll know exactly what they're talking about, and it could be something that could really make you feel really bad about yourself, really bad about the situation, or afraid. Okay, and that's what happens with a lot of the narcissistic parents. They tend to traumatize their child a lot of the um, with a lot of the controlling behavior, with a lot of the criticism to that child's behavior. A child is really, really fortunate if they can get out of a situation with a narcissistic parent with any type of self-esteem. Now, the good thing about this, even if you were raised in a situation where you know now, which you probably didn't know when you were growing up, that your parent was narcissist, right? You can recover and get yourself back. You can start loving on yourself. You can reprogram your brain. But here's the problem. The problem is that we don't call out these individuals, and these people aren't exposed for a very long time, and sometimes they are not even living any longer, and they have left a trail of tears behind them. And these people are adults, and they don't have that option to have any closure with that parent. But it's okay not to have closure, like, closure in the way that some people have told you that you have to have closure. It's better that you understand that what has happened to you. You need to understand the brain damage that you get from being in a narcissistic situation with your parents. Okay, understand that. Um, Gaslighting. Let's get into what the gaslighting is all about, right? So, these type of parents love to gaslight their children. They love to lie to them and try to, because the gaslighting mostly comes as the child gets older and start to understand who that parent might be, or have there's a chance that that person might wind up this the child may wind up exposing their parent. So this is where the gaslighting starts to come in really heavy, where they start to try to twist the reality of in that person's mind. So, for instance, if they were abused as a child, they'll this and they start to remember how the abuse was. What that parent will do is say, no, you're not remembering this the right way. I would never do anything like that. In fact, that parent may even start to cry, crocodile tears, or maybe some shameful tears, but they will never admit, nor will they take accountability for what they have done to you at that time. What they're going to try to do is rewrite history. That's how they gaslight. The gaslighting is a form of trying to rewrite your reality. Okay, telling you that the certain things didn't happen when you know they did, telling you this that it happened a different way when you know that it happened one way. So yes, this is very difficult for children to come back, because one of the things that they trained you to do was not to speak back to them, right? So correcting them, especially in some of the environments where the parent, like in African American background, we were told to, you don't, if you correct your parent, that was like talking back to them, that was disrespectful. So everything that you try to do to try to change the situation or hold on to your reality, they're going to deem as disrespectful. So they use that word disrespectful quite a bit. And I don't want to say it's just in African American households. I think this is kind of, when we're talking about narcissism, this is kind of a cross the board type of situation, right? These narcissistic people all seem to have read the same Bible in a sense, right? So, so this parent will try to make sure that the uh, child understand things exactly the way that they feel like they should understand it. And again, like I said, it's distorting your reality, making sure that you see things one way, making sure that you second guess yourself, making sure that you don't think, more or highly than whatever it is that they taught you to think, right? It's part of their programming so that you're not able to think for yourself. If you're not able to think for yourself, you're not able to run, you're not able to get away from them, not able to escape their hands from, continuing to clip your wings. Um, so yeah, these are some of the signs that they go through. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. Now, as a child that goes through narcissistic abuse, what's the danger, right? That's what most people want to know. What is the danger of actually dealing with someone or a parent that has, when a child experiences the emotional abuse and neglect? What happens is they grow up and they develop low self-esteem. They have a strong sense of guilt and shame. Um, Narcissistic parents may use the children as an extension of themselves. Like I said before, they don't ever feel like the child is doing anything, that everything that this child do, they feel like they had a part in it. Okay, so let's say the child does grow up and be successful in spite of what this parent has actually put them through. Well, this parent, instead of them, even if the child has cut them off, not talking to them or whatever, this parent will still take pride in the fact that they feel like this child is an extension of them. The only reason that they're successful is because of them. That's what they do. Taking all the glory and everything from that child. And sometimes people, they get a little religious on you just so that they won't give that child that self-esteem that they need, or that good job, or that acceptance. They'll say something like, well, give all the glory to God. And there's nothing wrong with understanding religion. I don't want people to be getting all weird about the religion or anything like that. In fact, guys, if you've come this far and you listening to me this long, I want to make sure that you understand to go ahead and hit that like button. Understand that the things that I speak about today is really coming from a place of personal experience. I've also taken some mental health uh, classes, so I kind of know what's going on in terms of the health of mental health, especially narcissistic abuse, borderline, and so on. So I did a lot of extensive research when it comes down to this subject, outside of actually living it, as proof enough right there. To me, that's more than any college degree that I could ever get. I do have a degree. My degree is in a different subject, but it is a degree nonetheless. Um, I do this because I want to help people get to the point where they actually understand where the disconnect was. Why did they wind up in a narcissistic relationship, in such a horrible relationship? Why is it that they feel like they are a magnet to all the narcissists in the world? So we want to get to the bottom of this. And why do they feel like they're unloved by their parents? So, yes, people need to understand that there is really no hospital or anything for anybody to go for emotional abuse. So, right here, where it says the child experiences emotional abuse and neglect, well, you say, okay, well, fine, that child experienced that. You wouldn't think that those two things, emotional abuse and neglect, would make a child do anything except for be a little sad. I mean, that's how it kind of looks. But no, it really goes so far as to play out in all their relationships, play out on their job, play out in the friends that they keep. Some of these children may get so depressed that it just comes to it just is really detrimental to that child. So I feel like emotional abuse is very hard but easy in a sense to detect. When you It's easy to detect when you know what you're looking for. They will develop low self-esteem and feelings of guilt. So this will make a person not want to even come out their house, okay? Let alone try to climb the corporate ladder, open up their own business, be of some help to society, right? So these children are not being nurtured enough to be able to even follow the streams and maybe be able to help somebody else, right? And it's a shame because you got doctors and lawyers and all types of people, and these young children, which is our future, is being sniffed out, and their wings are being clipped by somebody, a narcissistic parent, only because this parent refused to get the proper help. Okay, so a person that has narcissistic behavior, that is a telltale sign that you are suffering from some type of mental illness. Narcissistic behavior may just be the tip of the iceberg. This may be just the indicator of knowing that something is just quite not right. But the thing about narcissistic behavior, they will never take accountability. So it's going to be hard for that person to actually come out of that. Now, if a person has bipolar or, I mean, by itself without narcissistic, see, some of these things, people have more than just one thing. So that's why people get a little confused. Well, the average person gets a little confused because they know that the person may admit to being bipolar, but they never admit to being, narcissistic. They may admit to being, having PTSD, but they'll never admit to the fact that they actually have narcissistic abuse. I mean, narcissistic tendencies and behavior. Okay, so narcissistic parent may use their child as an extension of themselves, leading to lack of anatomy and boundary setting skills. Yes, that's exactly where that actually comes from. When you have a parent that misuses that child, oversteps their boundaries, never allowing them, setting boundaries is really important. And when that parent allows everybody to go past that child's boundary, the child is telling them, "Hey, this person did such and such to me," but then they overlook it and not even look into it, just keep going, right? And then that child suffers so many different ways because of that. And then they don't have a strong sense of self, so they don't know what directions they need to take in life. They don't know who they are. They don't know their good sides. They don't know their ambition. They don't know what their likes and dislikes are. They have no idea. They're just so disconnected from themselves, and they allow everybody else to dictate to them because they are so lost. They don't know. This is how kids, this is how people wind up in cults. This is how people wind up being you know pimped out on the streets. This is how they wind up with other narcissistic people that abuse them, use them, and all types of things. And they don't know where it came from. Okay, they don't know why they always falling for somebody who doesn't like them. They don't have a When they don't have a good sense of self, they wind up in one-sided friendships. Okay, they wind up in one-sided friendships that don't go anywhere. They wind up not reading people, even when they know that they see a red flag that this person don't like them. They have learned not to read the signs that this person is showing them in their face. They overlook that. Because why? Because they had to overlook their mothers or their fathers mean mugging them all the time, right? Mean mugging meaning that they always had to overlook the fact that their father or their mother may be looking at them really mean, right? Because a lot of times that mean look was also part of that dog whistle, right? So that's why a lot of the children feel really lost, and they feel disconnected from themselves. They don't know. This is how you can find like such a beautiful girl or a handsome man that really just doesn't know who they are, winding up with someone who is really not as attractive as they are, but this person is able to just you know lead them all over the place and do all sorts of mean things to them. And then they wonder, because this child may grow up and be uh, proficient in a lot of different other areas, right? They may find that they're extremely smart in school, maybe, or maybe they may have lacked in school, but they have some certain talent that just had to come out, and that child actually uses that. They may be good at sports, they may be good at calculating things or something, and they will be successful in that area. But what will happen is that people will still misuse them because they'll get into a job that's paying them so less than what they would pay anybody else, because they allow it, because they just be like, you know what, okay, fine, I'll take that, I'll take whatever, whatever is comes up, right? So yeah, they tend to actually, you know not get paid what they're supposed to, and they are being misused. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so my personal experience growing up with the narcissistic parents can be difficult, but it's possible to break free from the toxic influence of the parents. Okay, it's possible. It's possible. It's possible to break past all of that. My like with my so my personal experience is I did grow up in a very toxic um, environment, a toxic family. My mother and father were, I had a mother and had a father, they were together. I had young parents. My parents were very young. My mother I think she had me at 13 and was raising me at 14 and 15 with my brother, who she had at 15. She also had another child at 16. So But she was married. She was married to a very, very mean guy that, which is my father, which is considered, people consider it as their stepfather because he wasn't my blood father, right? My blood father uh, did not take care of me, did not reach out to me or anything like that. However, growing up in this situation was very difficult because what happened was a lot of these things that happened, like I said, when as we were growing up, we had a lot of difficulties. We didn't know what narcissism was. We didn't know that we were in a narcissistic, you know, parents. We knew that they were rough on us. We knew that they were abusive toward us because other people told us that they were. When my brother would go to school with, you know, with big, huge whelps on his body because he was a lighter skinned than I am, and or I would go to school and I'm staring out the window because I'm, at a very young age, I had grown people problems. And, as you go through this experience, you just notice that a lot of different things, and I can't tell other people's story, but I can tell my own story. And my story is that growing up in that household with a mother that was very volatile. At times, she would fake a suicide. She would fake a sickness. She would fake, she would fake a lot of different things. I didn't notice that some of them were fake until, as I look back on it, I figure like, oh, well, you know what? She was faking that one out. And it was to control somebody else. It was maybe to control my stepfather or whatever, to get home quicker or whatever. But as children, she never they were just, neither one of them were nurturing. They should not have had children, okay? Because neither one of them, I can only remember one time my stepfather hugging me, and it was because my stepmother made him do so. I also only remember my mother actually hugging me and being, attentive toward me or even doting on me just a little bit. She claimed that she was really, really a really good mother when as I was a baby, but I guess as far as I can remember, I can't remember any type of coddling, cuddling, or anything like that. It seems like I was in my own room and bed and everything before a very short time, until at times she would want me to sleep in there with her until she feels better about going to sleep because she had so many demons that she was dealing with. Okay, she had a hard time with sleeping. She had different things that was going on with her, but that's a whole nother story. How it affected me as I got older is that it definitely made me not have any type of boundaries with anybody. I didn't even know what boundaries was until I started reading up on narcissistic abuse. I started reading up on after I found out everything I knew about narcissism and doing some my research, taking classes on mental health. After doing all of those things, then I start to see, well, how do I heal from what I've actually been through? How do I recover that lost child? Okay. How do I get that back? You know what I mean? Because that's what it comes down to. How do we get ourselves back? How do we start to stop playing those horrible things that has been planted in our heads ever since we were younger? And how do we build our self-esteem? How do we get back connected with ourselves? So one of the things that you want to make sure that you do, and I'll tell you more about my personal story as we go through this series. However, one of the things that you do want to do as you break free from their toxic influence, what you have to do, and I know this is very difficult, if you want to save yourself, if you want to preserve any other sanity that you may still have in your brain, if you want to get yourself back, then you have to disconnect from the toxic poison. Okay? That includes any people that are around that person that does not get it. At this point, you have to protect yourself. You must understand that above all things, you must understand that you have to protect your own emotional ability. You are no good to anybody. If you have children, you're no good to them. If you have friends, you're no good to them until you take care of you. And if you have lived in a household and you feel like, oh, well, it didn't affect me like it affected Kim. It didn't affect me like it affected, and everybody's going to have their own level, but you best to believe it affected you. You better believe that it affected you. It hasn't come to your understanding just yet because you are not ready to face all the things that you may have already been through or that you're going through even currently. But once you get to that, once you realize what has happened to you, once you educate yourself on what narcissistic abuse is all about, then you will start to realize how to actually heal. Okay. So, how do you heal from something like this? The first thing, like I said, the first thing is to, the first thing you want to do is to take back your power, right? How do you take back your power? Well, you start to get to know you. Because when you are in a, when you have been raised by a narcissist, it's quite different from just, meeting somebody who's a narcissist. You find out they're crazy and you move on, right? So this is different because you have to reparent yourself. Now, that's a very hard thing to do. You have to reparent yourself. You have to you have to tell yourself, you have to talk to yourself in a way that builds your self-esteem because your self-esteem has been torn down. It's been stolen from you. You have to be in touch with your inner child so that you can be able to have fun, to play, to jump up and down, to be able to go outside and maybe have a game or something that you want to play, laugh at some things that needs to be laughed at, and so on. So getting to know you. The way that you get to know you is you like you would get to know anybody else. Start asking yourself some questions like, what do I really like? Who am I? What is it all about? Now, some of us have went into astrology to learn more about ourselves. Now, I do have other channels where I do astrology, tarot cards, and all of those things. And again, these are about being self-aware. These things are. I know that some people be like, "Whoa, that's of the devil," and all those type of things. But those keys, those tools, is what helped me understand who I was, who I am, and it really kind of put me back on track. Now I use those tools to help other people find out who they are, what their destiny is, and possibly some things that really they had not even thought about. So always use, if you're going to ever use astrology and if you want your own astrology chart, or you want to go in, you want me to look into tarot, Vedic astrology, I do all of those things. Okay. Now, also, what I do is I'm a firm believer in self hypnosis. Okay, so now if this seems a little too woozy for you, that's okay because I also love the medical side of things and understanding things on that level. But a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of people may not even believe that a lot of these things you need to go deeper than just your mental capacity. You need to go inwardly on the spiritual plane. You have to heal from the inside out. Okay. Now, not a lot of people, go use any of these tools, but again, these are tools. Tarot is a tool. Tarot card reading is a tool. Astrology is a tool. These tools are to understand you and the universe and what actually how you can deal in this world. Okay. It's not anything that has anything to do with really, people say they put it in a spirituality thing, but it really does not have a lot to do with spirituality as it has to do with you in general. Okay. But I digress. So, anyways, if you ever want to check out any of those things, again, I do have another channel outside of this channel, which is Kim Mars Tarot, also Kim Mars Astrology. Okay. Now, back to what we were talking about here. So, that's part of those are some tools that you can use. Again, hypnotist, self hypnotizing yourself. This has helped me tremendously because what has to happen is you have to almost rewrite the script that has been given to you. You have been programmed by your parents to think of yourself as a certain way. This is why you have low self esteem. You may not, you may be afraid to be successful because a lot of times, a lot of us are afraid to be successful because we are going to get, higher than our parents did in education and maybe more successful on our jobs than our parents have ever been. So we've been taught to kind of like not even shoot for that because your parents didn't do it. So, and they probably kind of put that in your head. So again, they made you feel like, who do you think you are? You know better than I am. You know better than that person and this, that, and the other. Just because you want to learn something. And the way that I see things is that we're all geniuses, but you cannot expect a fish to climb a tree. Now, if you don't know what that means, just think about it. Just think about it. Okay, so, but not, that's not how I was taught to think. I was taught to think that, yeah, don't get past me because I'm your mother. I have authority over you. Don't, and if you do get past the grade that I've gotten to, don't think that you're more than me. And even if you're not thinking like that, that's what they'll put out there on you. Well, that person, well, she thinks she's all that because she went and got her degree. I guess she thinks she knows more than anybody. And it's just pure jealousy. A lot of us that are daughters, we have experienced our parents being combative or even competing with us. Okay. So a lot of us have a parent that competed with us. I know my parent did. She competed with me. My mother competed with me for a lot of things. She thought she wound up going and dating and marrying someone the same age as me. So if that's not, competing with your daughter, I don't know what else is. Now, I'm not saying that she can't deal with somebody that's younger, that's fine, but it was all the other things that went along with that. Competing with me on just looks, on because it comes a time in a narcissistic mother's life when that daughter gets a certain age, she's no longer a child, she is competition to them in their mind, right? So what way does a narcissist deal with competition? They got to get rid of them, or either make the person think that they're just the scum of the earth, or that they're not as beautiful as they are. And that's what she used to constantly tell me. You're not all that. You're not as cute as you think you are, and so on, right? So it's a lot of different things that a person has to deal with. So this is why all of these tools. Now, me personally, I say use the tools that are best for you. I'm not saying that tarot cards, astrology, or any of those things take the place of you going to get therapy. If you need therapy, and a lot of us do, not only do some of us need therapy, we need a psychiatrist, which is different from just getting therapy. Even when you get therapy and you get a psychiatrist, go ahead and reach out to someone like myself who is a life coach, who understands the trauma, the narcissistic abuse, trauma informed life coach is what you want to go after. Okay. You want to get somebody. The reason that you would need a life coach is because you're not only going to need someone to, like in therapy, to talk about what has happened to you and get to the nitty gritty, but you're going to need to stay on pace. And that's what a life coach will help you do, is to stay on pace, to hold you accountable, to tell you that you're doing great, to bring you back into the fold when you start to veer off. Okay, to even have a second voice outside of your therapist. You and that life coach can talk over different things. If you need a psychiatrist, then you will know the difference, because a therapist, when you go into a therapist's office and you find out that all you're doing is just talking in circles, or maybe you even feel like the therapist might be narcissistic. I've heard people say that. I don't know. But and then you may want to get a psychiatrist, because a psychiatrist is going to dig a little bit further, because some of us have some abuse that just went so deep that not only that a therapist can't really, they can only go so far to help you. You may need both. Who knows? Okay, that's up to you. But if by chance you do need to reach out to a therapist or anybody, I do have a link below that is to it's an online psychiatrist, or online therapy. Okay, is what it's called. So this is some people that are licensed therapists that can actually go, talk to you. You can select if you want a man or woman or whatever. Okay, but go there, and then also look into psychologytoday.com, and that will help you as well. And we also have a meetup where we all meet up on Zoom live, which is it's an awesome, very passionate and wonderful meeting every Saturday at 7 o'clock. We really do get a lot done there. Now, each one of you, please let me explain one thing that you need to do. You need to be journaling. I noticed that a lot of people told me that, hey, you know what? I get so sad, I get upset and things like that, but I don't know where it comes from. So this is where journaling comes in at. Okay. Start writing down those feelings. Start turning those feelings on, getting to understand those feelings, but also training yourself to regulate your emotions. So we're going to talk more about, regulating your emotions. We're going to talk more about how to get past the narcissistic abuse, reparenting yourself. We're going to talk about how to use some of those tools that I talked about before, like astrology, tarot cards, and so on, and self hypnosis. We're going to talk more about those in depth. This channel is going to be slightly different from a lot of different channels. Look, I am a very creative person, and no, I'm not going to always talk and say the same thing that you hear from every channel that's going to be talking about narcissistic abuse. I believe in doing the things out kind of outside of the box. That's why I like helping people with tarot, with using tarot, using the esoteric knowledge that I have, numerology, all types of things that can help you understand yourself. None of these tools were ever supposed to be used for evil, and neither do I use them for evil or to get into somebody else's business. It's always been for self-improvement for me. It's always been or okay, I'm in this bad relationship. How do I get out? What you think is going to happen next? What do I is Do you have some advice? Sometimes we need somebody to understand or even give us a second voice on what we're going through and how do we get past it. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys. I'm going to be coming back periodically. Well, I'm going to be more, I think what I'm going to try to do is do more lives. Also, I wanted to mention to you guys, I want to thank you, all of my new subscribers. I have so many new subscribers. I'm so very, very happy. I think we're going to get to 1,000 subscribers this week. So I am very, very proud and happy of that. But I'm going to be doing a lot of lives because I also want to get my 400 hours watch time in there as well. So please, if you see this video, go ahead and comment on this video. Go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and share this video because we do want to get this awareness out there. So that's what I have for you guys today. If you have any questions that you want me to go over, any topics that you want me to talk about, go ahead and reach out to me. One last thing, I am going to be running a giveaway for certain videos. So you better be watching these videos to see which one that you need to be commenting on, because that's where I'm going to be giving away up to $800 in gifts and prizes. It's mostly going to be cash because I don't feel like shopping for people. So, hey, be there. All you need to do to be a part of that is to comment. One comment is going to be fine. Even if you make two comments, you're still only going to get counted once, because what I'm going to be doing is it's going to be randomly picked through the YouTube picker that is available to us. So if you are looking to really get a little extra cash, I got you there. If you want some advice, I got you there. And if you need any of the esoteric knowledge that I have you there too. That's what I have for you guys. Let's keep healing, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.